Last night, I began the process for the Senate to hold a vote on the Freedom to Vote Act, a common-sense proposal that would make it easier for every eligible American to participate in free and fair elections. The Freedom to Vote Act, which 8 of my colleagues have worked on very diligently for months to put together, is going to go a long way to restoring people's faith in our democracy while respecting the role of the states in administering elections. This bill is a compromise, but a good one. It's a bill that every Senate Democrat is united behind enthusiastically. It sets common sense standards to make sure all Americans, no matter what zip code they live in, have the freedom to vote safely, securely. It adopts critical anti-election sabotage protections to safeguard our democracy from threats, foreign and domestic. It advances election reforms that have been proven to work in red, blue, and purple states, including many from West Virginia. As you know, Senator Manchin was an integral part of our discussions. It outlaws partisan gerrymandering, making sure voters choose their elected officials, not the other way around, elected officials choosing the voters. And it reduces the power of big money in our elections by ending secret spending. Now, these are basic American values, not Democratic, not Republican. Every American should agree with this. And we're ready to work with our Republicans in good faith if they vote to begin a debate on voting rights. The vote tomorrow, let me remind you, is simply to move to debate. They're filibustering the motion to proceed, which simply says, let's debate it. If they can't even debate voting rights, something so sacred in America, what is wrong? And the idea that the federal government shouldn't be involved, I would commend to my Republican colleagues to read the Constitution, to read the 15th Amendment, and read the numerous voting rights acts passed by this Congress, usually bipartisan, before they say this is not a federal issue. Of course, it's always been a federal issue to protect people's voting rights, starting in the Constitution itself, which says that the Congress can oversee federal elections. Okay, so if our Republican colleagues want amendments, want to have a discussion, we're welcome to it. I told Senator Manchin, I've told Republicans, and he's told them on numerous times, we'll have an open amendment process. They can amend the bill just as they want. I'm committed to an open and fair amendment process. The Senate has already voted on more amendments than any full year under President Trump and more than in the last 2 years combined. But what Republicans should not do, what they must not do, is squelch any chance for the Senate to debate something as critical, as sacrosanct, as American as the right to vote. Our elections are the wellspring of democracy and everything that comes with it. Unfortunately, Donald Trump's big lie is spreading like a cancer among Republicans. Here's a chance for bipartisanship to repair that damage. And they know in their hearts, a lot of them, how bad this is. But they're afraid of Trump, and they just go along. Tomorrow, the Senate will have the opportunity to rise to the moment. Democrats are ready to have this debate right now. Our members have worked tirelessly for months on the Freedom to Vote Act. Senator Manchin has worked for a month to try and get Republicans to either support the act, say what they would want to change in the act, or at least just give us 10 votes so we can begin debating the act. We'll see tomorrow if his efforts came to any fruition. Senate Republicans say they want more bipartisanship. Well, they're going to have the opportunity for bipartisanship tomorrow when we vote to begin debate. I hope they take us up on their offer. Senator Durbin.
I've often wondered why we don't use the Senate chamber more effectively and more often. It's a beautiful place. Perhaps we could have some wedding receptions there from time to time, because we certainly don't spend a lot of time there debating or deliberating, which the Senate is designed to do. Instead, we should use that empty chamber to become a full chamber of members of the Senate to talk about issues that really count in America. What Chuck Schumer just described is pretty basic. We ought to be talking about voting in America. We had an extraordinary turnout in the last election, and now we have over 20 states that are making dramatic changes. They want to change the way people vote, reduce their opportunities to vote. Many of us think that's wrong. We should make it easy for every legally eligible American to vote, period. Easy instead of hard. That's exactly what's going on in 20 states. So we want to bring up the bill tomorrow to deal with the Freedom to Vote Act. And what kind of a response do we get from the Republican side? Well, we already know what it is. They want a filibuster. Now, it's not surprising if you're a student of history that anyone uses a filibuster on a basic civil right like voting. The Republicans hate to hear it, but the filibuster has always been the weapon of choice when you want to beat down civil rights. There's a historian by the name of Sarah Binder, and she looked at the use of the filibuster between 1917 and 1994, and exactly half of the time it was used to stop civil rights progress. I could add a couple chapters to her research. I've been stopped at least 5 different times by a filibuster for the DREAM Act. So in your area of civil rights, the Republicans and others in the past in the Democratic Party have used the filibuster. In the 1960s, it was the Democrats. Now it is the Republicans. Senator McConnell hates to hear that. He denies it. He does not want the words filibuster and voting rights and Jim Crow and Republicans put in the same sentence, but I'm afraid they are. When we take a look at how it's been used in the past, the filibuster was used to beat down the poll tax prohibition that was offered in the Senate. The filibuster was used to beat down anti-lynching legislation in the Senate. So we've seen that done. So what are we asking for tomorrow that's so radical that it requires a filibuster? The opportunity to talk about an issue, the opportunity to debate it. And you just heard Senator Schumer, no tricks involved. We're basically saying to them, in the words of the House, open rule. Bring in your amendments, we'll bring in ours. Let's hash it out, let's debate it. Let's come to a conclusion as to whether we're going to help people vote in America or put obstacles in their way.
Thanks, Dick.
Thank you, Senator Durbin. You know, the right to vote is really a cornerstone of our democracy, and it is under attack. In state after state, the same far-right voices who are casting unserious and baseless and dangerous doubts on the result of our last election are now working to undermine the next one by restricting the ballot box. Defending our democracy from these attacks and standing up for voters across our country, making sure their voices are heard and their votes are counted. That's not just a good idea. It's not just common sense. It is one of the most basic and most important responsibilities, and it is critical to the survival of our democracy. That's why it is so important that we pass the Freedom to Vote Act to ensure that our voters have equal access to the ballot box, promote best practices for voter registration and administration, and protect our elections from very real threats of interference, both foreign and domestic. That is what we are asking tomorrow to bring up on the floor to discuss and to debate and vote on. We hope our Republicans feel as strong about making sure we have a democracy as we do.
Jeff.
Well, let me just add my voice to say that the Freedom to Vote Act is absolutely essential. And coming from Michigan, I have to tell you that we are one of the states sometimes not talked about as much as other states right now, but we have very serious attacks going on our freedom to vote in Michigan. In 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, more people voted in Michigan than ever before, 5.5 million people. We elected Joe Biden president, Kamala Harris as vice president. It's very clear in challenge after challenge that they won the election, but the Republicans just don't like who we voted for. That's the bottom line, and so they're trying to change it, make it more difficult to vote, and take away people's freedom to vote. Frankly, it's wrong, it's undemocratic, it's un-American. We need the Freedom to Vote Act to pass now.
Okay, first I want to say, we're only going to have to take a few questions. We had a very spirited discussion at our lunch, passionate, strong, and there was universal agreement in that room that we have to come to an agreement, and we got to get it done, and want to get it done this week. Yes, first question.
Explain us what that means. Do you want a framework this week, and how do you get there? Are you going to have separate meetings with your members? Or
There's lots of meetings going on. The President's meeting regularly with people. Probably the President, the Speaker, and I just talk now about once a day. And there'll be all kinds of meetings together and separately to get this done. But the pace is picked up. The desire to get it done is strong. And as I said, universal agreement in the room. We have to come to an agreement. Yes. Yes.
There's this rift between Senator Sanders and Senator Manchin. How do you get this done? How do you bring them together? How do you get them on the same page?
Look, what I've told our caucus is everyone is going to be disappointed in certain things, but everyone's going to be glad about certain things. And overall, getting something done of this magnitude, for the American people is a huge, huge, huge accomplishment, and that's what's going to move us forward and bring us together. Last question.
When you say an agreement, are you talking about a framework, or are you talking about something that would be a bit...
Look, you can't write the whole bill within the next few days, but getting a framework done that is agreed upon by 50 senators and 218 House members, which we're getting closer to. We're not there yet, but getting closer to. And then moving both bills together is going to be what we're going to do. Thank you, everybody.